Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jackie Van Ham and my buddy Josh Trokey out here bringing you all of the breaking news going on out here in motorcycles and power sports. As we had mentioned, Josh and I were just talking before we jumped on camera here. There is just a ton of news going on right now, right, Josh? Like all over the
Yeah.
place. There's all sorts of sneak peeks and behind the scenes from EICMA. EICMA hasn't even happened yet. We're already seeing bikes coming from there. Anyway, it is just super rock and roll, very rowdy. Speaking of rock and roll, I am in the Sin City this week out here. In case you're wondering what hotel room I'm coming to you from right now, it's out in Las Vegas. I am out here for SEMA and the Apex show. It's going to be a heck of a good time. If you're out here and you see me out wandering around, make sure to say hey. And for today's program, I am going to be talking about a new bike, an updated version, I should say, from the folks over at BMW. The wraps have come off of the S1000XR, and we are going to talk about Sara Price, who has been making a little bit of history over in Morocco. And Josh, what do you got going on for your first stories?
I'm going to summarize both my stories in one thing. Do you remember Casino, the movie, where Joe Pesci is the short little Italian guy that's picking fights with everyone? Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about this week. Both stories.
I love that it's casino themed all the way around. Here
Oh, yeah.
coming to you from Las Vegas. Well, I can't wait to hear what you got to say, but we're all going to have to wait after this word from our sponsors. Welcome back, everybody. As I'd mentioned, my very first story for today is chatting a little bit about a motorcycle from the folks over at BMW. And there's been a couple of different models floating around from them and some sneak peeks and things, but indeed they revealed a handful of very cool machines, and that is the X1000 or the S1000XR. The S1000XR, a little bit of a cult machine, right? I mean, it's just kind of an odd duck. It sits in the crosshairs of like sport bike slash tour. They even kind of refer to it sometimes a little bit of like an adventure type genre with its sit upright positioning. It definitely has always been an odd duck for the folks at BMW, but it is really for people that want to ride and partake in that fantastic 1000cc engine, but they don't want to have their butts above their elbows and in that super hyper aggressive position. This has a little bit more of a sit upright position. So they have done some updates to that very cool machine, and another member of the M family is coming up because it is an M1000XR. Let's go ahead and jump into the details. The slide on your screen right now is the S1000XR. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. BMW has pulled the wraps off of two new XR sporting models for 2024. And again, it is the S1000XR, the slide on your screen right now, and in just a couple of slides, the M1000XR. The S1000 gets a whole bunch of updates, including more power, while the M debuts as the third member so far of the high-performance M family, joining the M1000R and the M1000RR. The key change for the S1000XR, which again has that inline four-cylinder engine, same engine as the S1000RR, is a substantial increase in horsepower compared to the previous model. For 2024, BMW is claiming 170 horsepower for this bike, achieved by optimizing intake channel airflow and revising the engine map. That's 5 horsepower up from last year. And it comes on at the same 1100 RPM. Torque is unchanged with 84 foot-pound. And then ergos on the S1000XR is what was really tweaked for this bike. Again, the 5 horsepower bump is really cool, but they really changed the looks of this bike. And as you can see from the slide on your screen right now, they're definitely positioning this in a sport tour category, which reminds me of a story Josh and I talked about last week. Could this be a direct shot across the bow at the Ducati Multistrada V4 RS? I don't know. It sure seems like it to me. But this is going to be, again, the ergonomics were changed. It has the seat of the long distance sport bike completely redesigned to serve up an extra 0.4 inch of seat height, because I guess that bike needed to be taller. It is now at 33.5 inches. The seat's usable length and width were also changed, making it easier to shift your butt cheeks during changing riding conditions for better control. And 3 different seat heights are available. The suspension has also been tweaked to offer more spring preload. Shift Assist Pro has been updated. They also did a Headlight Pro, which is where as the bike turns, the headlight follows. This new model also has a keyless fob ride and some upgrades to the battery, and a USB charging socket is now standard. The cosmetics, again, were tweaked a little bit. It's got a nice rear section update. I also really like that they changed the front fender is now body paint match as opposed to previous generations. This was just in black. The MSRP for this bad dog is going to be $17,495. Now let's go ahead and talk about the M1000XR because this bike absolutely stunning. This is the stocker XR on your screen right now. If we keep jumping ahead, we're going to see the M1000XR, which is this super mean, nasty looking machine on your screen right now. This incredible bike is going to be cranking out horsepower to the tune of, what is it? I think it's like 205 horsepower going on for a sport tour bike. Head explode. I don't know exactly who needs 200 horsepower to sport tour, but they've got it for you, just like the folks over in multi-strada land. In case you just need 200 horsepowers on tap while you're touring around. This is the third and newest member of the BMW Motorrad M series. This has the same high performance amps as the M1000R and the M1000RR. Again, this is considered the lightest and most powerful crossover motorcycle in the world. This is the same inline 4-cylinder. This is the same, 201 horsepower, not 205. 201 horsepower, 83 foot-pound torque. What else is going on with this bike? Again, it's got a ton of cosmetic upgrades to it. You can see the slide on your screen right now is the version that is the light version. The previous slide, actually, if you want to click back over to it, that is the dark version. I love the way that bike looks. Again, this is jam-packed with boatloads of M-Power performance upgrades. This is going to have all the different ride modes. This has rider aids galore, Shift Assist Pro, launch control, pit lane limiter, hill start control pro. There's even a brake slide assist feature for those who are really looking to get their slide on. Suspension 2 is upmarketed, and it has a 6.5-inch TFT dash that is coming with the other M series machines. Let's go ahead and discuss this bike. This is going to come into the dealerships at $24,295 with the estimated launch in second quarter of 2024. This bike is covered with all sorts of carbon fiber, all the bells and whistles on this guy. It comes in 3 different seat heights, 32.3 inches, 33.5 inches, or 34.3 inches. And again, it's got that light or dark version M competition package. Josh, what do you think about these very cool upgrades to the cult bike, which is the 1000XR from BMW?
I mean, once again, it's the same as with the multi-strada. This is this niche that has blown up just from the fact there's a lot of people out there that, I mean, if you look at what the market went for in the touring side of things, that used to be the Goldwing. No one wants a Goldwing anymore. When you look at the number of Goldwings being sold now compared with the number of Goldwings that were being sold 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it's very different because people still want to go fast. It's our generation that grew up on sport bikes that are not ready to say, I want to ride a couch. It's the people from our generation now that are buying these bikes that say, hey, I still want to do dumb things just comfortably. So I believe that is where this is aimed at. The updates that they did, they're great updates. I honestly think that BMW is ahead of Ducati in this range and that some updates were exactly what they needed to do to keep that edge.
Yeah, like I said, this bike has been around for a hot minute. I have always kind of, and I've said it a couple times already, I've always considered this bike a bit of a cult bike. People really do fall in love with this, and you nailed it. When I would talk to folks that ride this particular machine, every single time they were like, I'm a sport bike guy or gal. I ride sport bikes all the time. I needed something that I actually could do miles on. I needed something that I could actually get from point A to point B a little bit more comfortably and put luggage on, but still have that super, super aggressive platform. And this is this is that guy. I is just, my 2 cents. I don't know, is sport tour still a huge thing in this country? Josh, you seem to think yes.
Yes.
I'd love to see the statistics. I'd love to see the stats on it.
Yes.
If you know off the top of your head, go ahead and throw it in the comments, and we will report back and let you know. I don't have the numbers at my fingertips right this second, but I'm always curious to hear what you got to say out there. So as always, throw your comments and everything in. Go ahead, throw them in there. We always go back and read. Now, Josh, what do you got going on for your first story?
Like I said, the little Italian guy, who's not really that little anymore, is throwing some punches here. Ducati has now confirmed that it will be entering the motocross and enduro markets with new dirt bikes that will feature desmodromic valve actuation. Now, for those of you that don't know what desmo valve actuation is, basically there is a setup that most valve systems use a camshaft to open and a spring to close the valve. A desmodromic valve system uses a cam to open the valve spring and to open the valve and a cam to close it. So Ducati is confident that the desmodromic valve system is going to give them a big advantage in motocross. So these new bikes are expected to be released in 2024. Take note, Triumph, not 2028. With these, Ducati's working with Antonio Caroli as a test rider and basically as team manager for this. So yeah,
Dang!
9-time world champion to get this. Their goal is to develop bikes that are competitive at the highest level. Ducati would do nothing less than that. What they're
Mm-mm.
looking for is lightweight and high quality components that they're going to be bolting onto this. It is expected that they are going to come out with a 450cc racer instead of a 250 like what Triumph has done.
Huh.
Once again, they are going to be trickling out information here in the next couple of months. As I have said, Triumph, take note. This is not going to be a 4-year delay. They have not announced yet whether this will be FIM Motocross World Championship or AMA Motocross Championship. However, they said that they are committed to racing dirt bikes at the highest level, which Ducati is committed to racing whatever has wheels at the highest level possible. That
Yes.
being said, they are going to be in the enduro markets also. This is significant because they haven't done anything dirty since the 70s. There is the Desert X. That's an adventure bike. We consider that on and off road. This is dirt specific, is what they're going for. To me, this is a big sign of the growing kind of resurgence back into the off-road stuff. It isn't what it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to that level. But with this new interest coming from Ducati, with this new interest coming from Triumph, there's
Yes.
obviously a market there for this that they are looking at that is going to be very, very, very interesting. These photos, these are the ones that Ducati posted, obviously give you absolutely zero information other
Yeah.
than it's a motorcycle and
It's
it has
got
knobby
knobbies.
tires. Although to me, that rear brake is a large. So that's interesting to see. Beyond that, there's nothing else. Now, what I see is very interesting about this, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, Jacqui. So Ducati's coming into this as a high-end manufacturer. Ducati's not going to come into this trying to compete with the Chinese bikes, obviously. Ducati's coming in as a high-end manufacturer. KTM used to be the boutique high-end. Now there's Beta out there. There's TM out there. If you want high-end, TM is it. There's others out there. To me, what advantage does Ducati bring to this market? That is my curiosity with this. They've got a better dealer network that I would say than Beta or TM. I give them that. But that's a kind of crowded market as it is. So what are your thoughts on that? And I mean, what do you think? Is this a good step?
It's it's really it's this game. I have to admit, I did not see this coming. This was a huge
Me neither.
shock for me. I had no clue. Obviously, I'm like flabbergasted about it. I love that they stole their team leader. Who didn't they lift him from directly from KTM?
KTM.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, so they're already doing the best of the best. They're already bringing in the best bodies. I feel like this is some sort of response to Triumph. also getting into the motocross
Yeah.
field. I feel like this is like a very European play. There is a lot of exposure now with the global supercross, global
Yeah.
motocross, multiple series that are happening.
Yep.
There's just a lot of interest in this space right now. I think, again, they're not going to do it to not win because that's just
Right.
not in their DNA. But I feel like just like Triumph, I feel like this is a big marketing move, and I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what happens. They're throwing the entire wallet at it because I promise you, the bodies that they're putting into play here were not free and were not cheap. Ricky
No.
Carmichael, hello. So they're spending the dough. They mean business. To me, that says kind of real big marketing push. But I'm really curious to see where it ends up. I'm
Yeah.
really curious to see what the rest of this bike. I love these photos though. These are such a jerk move. I hate
Yep.
when they do this. They show you absolutely nothing. There is zero
Yeah.
information. I am curious because EICMA is coming up like in a week from now. I am
Week and a
curious if
half.
they're going to
Yeah.
have anything laying
Now, what's something else
around
that's
at
interesting with
EICMA.
this is that I see this rider's wearing all black, unlike the stormtroopers that we made fun of for the Desert X race. So
Different marketing team. Different marketing team, I guess.
totally.
But I'm curious to see what happens. I'm real excited
Same.
for it. It's them being in a different space, and I love. What did you touch on the Desmo valves, which I think are
Yep.
very typical Ducati. The Desmo valves they've been using
Yep.
for forever, since the Wayback Machine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like that they're returning to
Yep.
their roots in that way. So that's all good news. I'm excited, looking forward to it. The minute we find out any more information, we're going to be bringing it to you here on the program. So you got to go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, share, do all the things and stuff. And then my next story that I want to talk about today is Sara Price making history in Morocco. But before we jump into that story, we got some words from our show partners.
Do you ever think your website listings might be lacking a little oomph? I'm Joe with another pit stop pointer, and here's the scoop. Real photos of those motorcycles on your showroom, they're not just visuals, they're your strongest sales pitch. And while we're at it, let's not forget the power of a good customized description. It's SEO gold, and it's how you connect on a deeper level with your website visitors. Ready to ride the wave of optimal listings? Swing by pitstoppointers.com for a full throttle guide. And as always, keep an eye out for more pit stop pointers to help you sell more fun.
At XOTO, we set out to build the world's most stable, easy to ride, and fun electric scooter ever created. With XOTO, you get up to a 90-mile range on a charge and up to 45 miles per hour. It's the world's first front-wheel drive scooter and has self-stabilizing technology, even when you're stopped. There's no motorcycle license required, and you can purchase an XOTO electric scooter today at XOTOinc.com. If you ride, you've probably encountered long wait times at stoplights and have even considered running red lights. Modern traffic light sensors are triggered by the conductive mass of metal materials on each vehicle, making it hard for motorcycles to activate them due to their metal mass. Signalmatic VS2 attaches to your motorcycle and produces a signal that trips traffic light sensors quicker and more effectively. Stop waiting and start riding with Signalmatic today. Proudly made in the USA. Visit www.signal-matic.com.
Huge thanks to our mid-show partners. Now, my second story for today, I wanted to talk a little bit. This story popped up about a week ago, and I thought this was so cool and so fascinating. And this is Sara Price makes history at the Rally du Maroc. Off-road champion racer Sara Price podiums and makes history at the final round of the World Rally-Raid Championship in Morocco with a second place finish overall in the competitive T4 class. Following 2 consecutive stage wins, the American racer becomes the first ever American woman to earn a stage win in the FIA World Rally-Raid Championship. After completing over 2,240 kilometers, only 11 cars finished the race out of the 19 entered in the T4 category. Price stayed consistent for the first 5 days with top 5 finishes, but encountered a radius rod failure at kilometer 47 during the final stage, which cost the team over 20 minutes. Price had to finish the stage on a crooked rear end and claimed an 8th place final stage finish, still sacrificing enough time to take home second overall in class. We came here to get the same experience before the Dakar Rally and ended up at second place overall in T4. I'm so beyond grateful to be here and hope to continue this success leading into Dakar, says Sara Price. Price teamed up with navigator Jeremy Gray, whom she had success with at the Sonora Rally earlier this year, claiming the win and earning Road to Dakar Challenge. The team spent a weekend training at America's Jimmy Lewis's rally school following their Sonora win, and Gray's first time navigating on the World Rally-Raid stage was turning heads of veterans, as it truly was his first time navigating at this level. The 6-day event proved to be excellent training for the upcoming Dakar Rally this January. The team will regroup and prepare for the hardest off-road challenge of their career. And Sara will be campaigning her journey. She'll be campaigning her journey and also posting it all over her social to the Dakar Rally through her social channels and website, sarapricemx.com, where you can join along and follow along on all of her adventure. Huge congratulations to Sara Price. Look how rad this car is. That looks like an excellent good time. This woman cannot be stopped. She races in all sorts of different classes at all sorts of different levels, whether on 2 wheels or 4 wheels. She absolutely crushes out there. I thought this was really awesome, and I cannot wait to follow along during Dakar in January. Josh, what do you think about this story?
To me, it's desert racers like that are just a different breed, because what they have to do as racers is totally different than what any other racer has to do. They have to fix their own vehicles. The other thing is it's not about picking the best line through a corner. It's about picking a survivable line that's fast. And it is a whole different skill set unto its own. It's amazing. I've always loved this type of stuff, just because of that skill involved. So yeah, I'll definitely be following along for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, you and I always cover Dakar and talk about it every winter. It's one of my highlights of the season. I love following along. There's incredible stories to be had everywhere, in every class, every type of vehicle. So I can't wait to follow on along. Now, Josh, what do you got for your second story today?
So this one, I have a laugh for you, because like I said, the little Italian guy is picking fights. And there is one main person that he is picking fights with. Now, if Ducati is coming into the dirt world, who recently has come into the road world and kind of stolen a little bit of Ducati's thunder? Would you pick maybe an orange team? Yeah. So that is how we end up with this graphic, because Ducati has unveiled a brand new single-cylinder engine called the Superquadro Mono. This is a 659cc engine that is claimed to be the most powerful single cylinder ever produced for a motorcycle. This is going to be a direct competitor to something like the 690 SMCR, the Husqvarna 701, and is Ducati trying to fill the hole that was left by the 690 Duke, rest in peace, back in 2019. This is going to be creating 77 horsepower at the crank, 85 horsepower with a race-tuned exhaust and tune on the engine. What? Very interesting. For reference, the KTM 690 out of the factory doors creates 74 in factory trim. Now, Ducati has taken an 116 millimeter piston from the 1299 Panigale. Stroke is 62.4 millimeters. This is what I found super interesting. That is a 1.86 bore to stroke ratio. Over square as anything. More over square than anything. Just ridiculous over square. To give you a point of reference, most Harley like twin cam engines are famously under square at 0.93 bore to stroke. So this is twice as different in terms of the ratio, the way it's set up. This is looking to rev to 10,250 RPM, which out of a big thumper is kind of cool. But don't worry about your fillings, because they are going to have twin counterbalances in this. Ducati has said that this should be about the same vibrationally as a 90-degree V-twin, of which I believe they had some experience with. On that, there are a few shared Panigale parts, but most are very unique directly to this engine. Now, first gear, they said, is very long, like that on the Panigale for out-of-the-corner grunt, which that, to me, is a big hint as to what this is going into.
Huh.
The cool thing about this too is it is like the KTM. It is long on oil changes. It is 15,000 kilometers on oil changes, 30,000
Mm.
kilometers on valve adjustments. This is a desmodromic valve system also in this. To me, this is, I don't know who at KTM pissed off someone at Ducati, but they obviously did in recent times, and that is why they are coming directly after them. Now, in other news, what I'm going to pull into this is this, because KTM now has the option to basically buy in the next few years
Yes.
MV Agusta, which is
Mhm.
an Italian is an
Yes.
Italian based company. We're not going to say an Italian manufacturer, but they are Italian design. So is this Ducati's way of saying, hey, you want to try and eat our lunch money? Guess what? We will come back and we will try and eat your lunch money. And we are going to go right for the jugular, as they both are doing here. This is a super interesting development. I think it's going to make everything better for both manufacturers, because there's going to be that stiff competition here. The KTM 690 motor, I mean, it's an iteration of the old 620s and 640s. I've owned a number of those older motors. They were great motors. They evolved over the years. KTM's done a great job with that. I'm excited to see what Ducati does with this big thumper.
Mhm.
What do you think this ends up in, Jacqui?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. What do you think this goes into? I am pleasantly surprised to see Ducati talking about being in yet again the middleweight category, as we talk about every single week. It seems like everybody's there's this race to like create these huge bikes, and then right now there's this same
Yep.
race to create mid-level bikes. So anyway, I'm not really sure. In my mind, this could be a couple of different things. This could be a really interesting adventure type platform because that's where everybody's living. I would rather see this be a cool, almost retro naked bike early monster type vibe. That would be kind of cool to me. I'd be excited to see that. Some sort of like little street fightery type guy. I think that would be really neat. Again, kind of aiming for that 690 KTM. I think that would be really interesting. I'm not really sure. What do you think this is going to go into? What is your opinion?
I mean, my guess is that they do come out with some sort of supermoto for this, or
Oh,
supermoto-esque.
okay.
The 690 SMC still sells like hotcakes. That's the
Okay.
reason why there's the KTM version, the Husqvarna version, and the gas version. That bike still sells amazingly well. As much as I would like to see something that was like Duke, like what KTM used to have, KTM
Yeah.
stopped producing that for a reason. It just didn't sell enough. So I'm
Oh.
assuming that this may end up with something, once again, more dirt oriented. But we shall see. When you look at how how many KTM 690s I pass out there on the road, there are a boatload of them. And I wonder if Ducati wants some of that money.
Oh, interesting. All right, we're all going to have to wait and see. And yes, I did see the news also about Perrier Mobility going ahead and picking up on the option to purchase a majority share of MV
Yeah.
Agusta. They had started that relationship, what, last year or so.
Yep.
You and I both speculated that it was a play for MV Agusta to be able to place more bikes into KTM dealerships and potentially vice versa, although KTM is the bigger of the two players with more dealerships. Globally, I would imagine KTM has a bigger reach. So I think this is all very interesting. But it's the first thing I thought of when you said they're trying to steal their lunch money. I was like, ooh, I wonder if they're mad because they're getting into the Italian bike game. We're all going to have to wait and see, though. And I think some surprises are going to be on tap at EICMA. I'm definitely going to be
Agreed.
glued to my screen for the next like 2 weeks, seeing all of the
Yep.
reveals and sneak peeks and things. As these trickle on out, we're going to be bringing them to you here on the program. So make sure you stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss it. So, coming from Las Vegas, that's going to be it for today's program. We will see you all next week. Ride safe, everybody, and I'll see you next week.